Week 13 is in the books. So that means it's time to hit those waiver wires to find players that could add value to the back end of your rosters. And first and foremost, I want to highlight a couple of players that are already highly rostered, but not exactly 100% that I think need to be. And that includes Tyrod Taylor, quarterback from the New York Jets, Devin Singletary, running back for the New York Giants, Keaton Mitchell, running back for the Baltimore Ravens, Jalen Coker, wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers, Darren Waller, tight end for the Miami Dolphins, and Gunnar Helm, tight end for the Tennessee Titans. Again, all these guys are rostered in well over 90% of Dynasty leagues out there, but not exactly 100%. So double check your waiver wires and immediately add these guys if they are available. Now, I'll be honest, this was not a very good week for Dynasty waiver wires in terms of new additions for guys who could break into your lineups based on performances and production this week. So because of that, I think it is a great week to recommend scouring the waivers for anyone who is just one injury away from a major role, specifically backup quarterbacks and backup running backs. We are just 1 week away from the fantasy playoffs, and the last thing that you should allow to happen is one of your players going down to injury and their backup was on waivers, but you aren't able to get them. Or if you don't have a trade deadline, you could be the guy who adds a handcuff right now and then flips them to another team for a profit if they lose a starter, even if it is just a free third or free fourth round rookie pick from a lottery waiver wire ad in week 14. Now, in terms of actual names to check your waivers for, I would be looking at backup quarterbacks like Joe Milton, Malik Willis, Mason Rudolph, Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Tyler Huntley. Then at the running back position, I would look for Bam Knight, Raheem Mostert, and Malik Davis. Now, this is not a completely 100% exhaustive list of players, and if there are better options on your waiver wire, add those guys. These are just the names that are rostered in at least 15% or more of the MFL leagues that I pull data from, so they should be a little bit more widely available in Dynasty leagues out there that your league mates might be overlooking because they are not household names or even really viewed as all that good of players. But trust me, if anything were to happen to Jordan Love, you better believe that the person who lost him would want Malik Willis. The same would go for Matthew Stafford and Jimmy Garoppolo, Lamar Jackson and Tyler Huntley, Ashton Genty and Raheem Mostert, and etc., etc. I mean, Justin Herbert left the game with an injury this week, and I bet there are some people who had Justin Herbert that were checking their waiver wires to see if Trey Lance was available in case Herbert was actually really hurt. He came back into the game, but Harbaugh actually just came out and said after the game that he has a broken hand. So maybe Justin Herbert misses time, maybe he needs surgery, maybe the injury is a lot worse than they actually expect. I don't really know, but if Justin Herbert were to miss time, you better believe that Trey Lance is a viable quarterback superflex option. So get ahead of the potential injuries, especially as we head into the fantasy playoffs, by checking your waiver wires for handcuff quarterbacks and handcuff running backs. Now, the one actual name that I am intrigued to add this week is Devon Vele, who is now with the New Orleans Saints after being traded from Denver before the season started. Now, he hasn't done all that much this year or even played all that much because he was behind Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, but now that Rashid Shaheed is gone, Vele has played over 85% of snaps 3 games in a row. He saw 7 targets in week 12, though only producing 3 catches for 37 yards on those 7 targets. But this Sunday, Vele turned 8 targets into 8 receptions, 93 yards, and a touchdown, and will probably finish the week as a fantasy wide receiver 1, probably inside even the top 10. Now, this is significant usage for the new wide receiver 2 in New Orleans, and it coincides with Tyler Shuck actually having decent production from a fantasy standpoint with 3 straight 235-plus yard games and 4 touchdowns in those last 3 games. It is not far off from how Rashid Shaheed was kind of an okay flex option with the Saints with Spencer Rattler, because Rattler just threw the ball so much and was just good enough to support multiple options in the passing game. Especially if Alvin Kamara continues to miss time, or if Chris Olave were to miss any time moving forward, as he already came into this week injured and questionable to even play, there's a fair probability that Vele puts up multiple startable weeks for the remainder of the year. He's not a confident start in my lineup, especially in the fantasy playoffs, but if you really need a guy or you play in deep leagues and you just squeaked into the fantasy playoffs, Vele might just be a more than fine option as a wide receiver 3 or flex with spike week potential.